Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. So honored to be here today. Thank you so much for having me as your guest, and welcome to all the students of Abuja. I am honored to be here today, and also for the Nigerian Computer Association of Students. Make sure I'm saying that correctly, because I know you guys do so much work and have just put together such an incredible community. And I love this topic. I'm so excited to share it with you and just get you excited about it as well. So let us begin. We are all defenders, and we're here to talk about cybersecurity foundations and the Microsoft tech stack, learning paths and certifications, but also customize this conversation to Nigeria and what is happening with your rapid digital growth and expansion, creating both opportunities for you as students to have that security mindset and further opportunities in your career paths. A lot of times they're not going to say the job is cybersecurity, but when you have these skills and you can bring it into anything you do, you will add so much value. And just we'll share a lot of stories of what's going on that show that there are many, many opportunities for you. And I just find this whole space really interesting and exciting, because when you really look at cyber security stories, there's always stories. The what happened, what was the impact of what happened, and how can we do better going forward. So with that, let's begin. I'll just kind of start by introducing myself. My name is Philippa Burgess, and I'm a principal at GeoCyber Systems. I am also a graduate student, so fellow student at the University of Southern California. I'm currently completing a master's program in privacy law and cybersecurity. So we're going to talk a little bit today about both the difference and distinctions between privacy and cybersecurity and the sort of cyber crime side of it, and also have an amazing moderator. So let me turn it over to you.
Hello everyone. You guys already know me. So today we have Philippa Burgess with us. She's a cybersecurity enthusiast, and then she's also a data scientist by profession. We invited her over, because majority of you, you love cybersecurity. So today she'll be, gracing us with our knowledge. If you have any question, we'll give you Q&A at the end of the lecture to ask all your questions. Please let's listen attentively to what she has to say, and then also if you have any question in mind, please just hold it in, or you can send to the Q&A section. You can find it by the if you are using your phone, you can find it just beneath the call. If you are using your system, you can find it above. Ask any question. The questions are heavily moderated, so we won't accept any spam. Ask any question and we will forward it to her. So thank you.
Fantastic. And again, thank you so much for having me here today, and just all of the incredible work that's gone into preparing for this. So thank you to our amazing moderators. So just to set the frame for what we're going to talk about today, there are cybersecurity foundations. We're going to talk about a lot of words that perhaps you've never heard of, or if you're already a cybersecurity enthusiast, these might be familiar to you, but the idea here is just to set the stage so that if you are hearing it for the first time, when you hear it again, it'll start to sound familiar. And if you already know it, it'll be that nice reminder that you're getting the foundations in. And so we'll talk about the CIA triad, common threats, GRC basics, which is governance, risk, and compliance, the roles of the red team, blue team, purple team, and just everyday defense. Then we'll move to the Microsoft tech stack, Defender, XDR, Sentinel for SIEM and SOAR, the security copilot, Purview, Entra, DevSecOps tools, and data encryption. So DevSecOps, if you are here kind of with being a developer in mind, and that's your primary skill set, then you're going to, again, have that security mindset in what you're doing. And then there are so many pathways, community, and opportunities in the space through Microsoft Learn certifications, the security 900, 200, and 100. We'll talk about free resources, Cyber Connect, and NICE, which is part of the US's National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education and Career Next Steps. So wanted to, again, welcome all of you and the work that you are doing and the opportunities and just your being here just so honored and excited for this. And again, welcome your questions as things that you already have in mind or things that come up through our conversation. So let's start with cybersecurity foundations. And one of the reasons we want to talk about this as we are all defenders is sometimes people think of cybersecurity as something that is not them. They think of it as something that someone else will handle. Perhaps that team that works with the IT department, and it is someone else's responsibility, or they think of it as very, very technical. And of course, everybody here is technical, which is great. But a lot of people just don't see cybersecurity as something that has anything to do with them. And we're here to kind of have you think about it a little bit differently, because the question is, do you lock your devices? Do you have a phone? Do you have a computer? Anything digital that you have a password to, that you would prefer that somebody not get into that device? Your email has a password. So every time you are using a passcode, a password, something that makes that device your own, that nobody else can get into, you are already practicing cybersecurity. It's that simple. If you have a lock on your house, your door, that's physical security, which is also a part of cybersecurity, because sometimes you want to lock the room that the machines are in, or lock the file cabinet that the physical papers are in. And so we want to lock our digital cabinets and our digital worlds and protect them from everybody that does not have the right or permission to see that data, that information. And that's why I want to say we are all here. We're all in cybersecurity, and all are welcome. And then there are levels to cybersecurity, obviously, different levels of professionals, and also any job that you have. So even if you don't ever think that you'll consider yourself a cybersecurity professional, you may be a data professional. You may be a data scientist. I'm a spatial data scientist. I love to make data maps. You may also consider yourself a developer. You write computer programs and build apps. All of us, in whatever job we have, business, law, education, have a role in defending and protecting our digital environments and our data. So therefore, I want to say everybody here is welcome. And we're talking about, what is cybersecurity? It's the practice of protecting systems, networks, and data from digital threats. It includes the prevention, detection, response, and recovery, and that everybody plays a role, from developers, ID departments, compliance teams, to end users. And cybersecurity is about both the technology and the human behavior. So let's look at what are the threats. And these threats are global. So there are definitely things we're going to talk about that are unique and specific to Nigeria and Nigerian culture and laws and regulatory environments, and your own economic development, where there's both opportunity and threats. But these are just the ones that globally, social engineering is getting someone to do something that they're not aware that they're doing in order to create access and create a vulnerability. That's the sort of, you're deceiving people to get access. Number two is inadequate defenses. So there's weak monitoring of the system or a lack of multi-factor authentication, the MFA. Or you're getting technical misconfigurations, especially in cloud environments. So therefore, as you progress in your computer science studies, learning how to set up and deploy cloud environments and to understand how to set them up correctly, and so there aren't misconfigurations, we'll be adding to creating more secure digital environments, and therefore you will be deploying using your cyber security skills. So there's many ways that cybersecurity threats can happen. And so with that, another core concept to know is that of the CIA triad. So it stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So just how we want to lock down data and make it secure and keep it from the bad guys, we also need to make sure that we can access it and we can get to it and we haven't corrupted it. So for example, in an encryption, if you code it but can't decode it, it's not very helpful, it's not available. Integrity, if you code it but it gets misaligned or just corrupted in some way, you can't use it, then it lacks integrity. And confidential is only the people who should see it can see it. And that's where there's another concept of zero trust, meaning don't trust anybody unless they've proven that they have the right to that information. And so we don't trust anybody, and we start from there. And then if they've earned that trust through their position, through their relationship, then they can access that. The common threats: malware, phishing, ransomware, social engineering. Again, if you have any questions about these, again, feel free to drop them in the chat. But malware is basically a corruption of a system. Ransomware is where you are holding someone's system, their data or their technology, ransom for money. Phishing is when an email is sent, or it could be a text message or even a phone call that's the social engineering part, trying to get people to do things they're not supposed to. That's how that malware gets into the system, or that's where the ransomware is installed. Usually comes from asking someone who's trying to be helpful for information. They unlock the digital door, they give the password, they do the reset, thinking they're trying to help someone, perhaps their boss or someone senior in the company. And ultimately, they're just helping the threat actor, the criminal. So then there's terms of SOC, SOAR, and SIEM. So your SOC is your Security Operations Center. SOAR stands for Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response. And SIEM is Security Information and Event Management. Other terms, RBAC and IAM. You'll hear RBAC is role-based access management, and IAM is identity access management. So role-based is if you are, for example, in the accounting department, that's your role, then you would have permissions to certain data that someone else in the company would not. Or identity is proving that it's you. Governance, risk, and compliance, also known as GRC, is a whole field of cybersecurity that's not necessarily technical. It's understanding the laws, the regulatory environment, compliance. This is where you get into a lot of data privacy, and Nigeria has really strong data privacy rules, and there are many companies that have deceived Nigerian citizens, Meta included, which runs Facebook. They were fined $220 million because the Nigerian government says, no, this is not how you treat our citizens. We have rules in place, we have regulations, and you violated them. And so that upheld in court that Nigeria has some very strong data protection. So you as a citizen have that data about you, and you have laws in your country that really protect you, which is great, but you should know about them and you should know your rights. That leads to data privacy. And then terms like PII, PHI is personal identifying information. PHI is your personal health information, which again is meant to be confidential. And data lifecycle is when you handle data in any capacity. You should have a plan for that data. You shouldn't just store it forever. You should know at what point do you put it in an archive and what point do you destroy the data, especially if that data contains sensitive information. And data privacy, there may not be any criminal involved. It may just be that a company or organization needs to have policies and procedures for how they handle data, what kind of data they ask for, and then how they store that data life cycle, who can and cannot see that data. And then there's the cybersecurity part of it again, where you're protecting yourself from outside or inside threats and actual crime. And then the security roles, you'll hear about terms like red team, blue team, purple team. The red team are the ones, kind of that term ethical hacker is because they're hacking into the system. They're showing where the vulnerabilities and the weaknesses are in a system, and then they can tell the organization, hey, it wasn't hard to break into your system, because that's called pen testing, penetration testing. And then the blue team, they're the defenders. They do all the work to make sure that they're filling those vulnerabilities, and that if there is an attack, they know how to detect it and how to defend against it, and kind of what the response plan is going to be. And then purple teaming is basically you do both. You do red teaming and blue teaming, and you sort of attack the problem from, pretending to attack it from the outside and defending it from the inside. So those are just basic terms you'll come across all the time in cybersecurity. And then there's the laws and the frameworks that govern it. And these frameworks are, if you are in an organization and you're there to sort of give some input and advice on, well, how do we approach cybersecurity? You would use these frameworks to guide you through the process. And some of these are the NIST, which stands for the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is part of the US government. They have their CSF, which stands for Cybersecurity Framework, and they're at 2.0. And so what you see on the right, that image is what that framework is about. And the upgraded version of it actually has govern, which they never included before. And now you look at it, so you've got to identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Those are the steps for any threat. ISO is international standards that certain companies, especially if they're in healthcare or work internationally, will oftentimes need to be ISO certified, meaning they've been audited to meet certain standards. And then CIS controls is computer information system controls, and that's another set of guidance that you can implement. A MITRE attack maps adversary tactics and techniques. So it's just basically a giant database of what people are doing that they shouldn't be doing, and so that the people who are protecting can get ahead of it and can track, what the threats are that have been reported and logged. And then you'll hear terms like GDPR, HIPAA, CCPA, POPIA, and then the most important to you is the NDPR, because that is the Nigerian Data Protection, and that's that's a regulatory guidance and basically law that you should all be familiar with, because that is something that you as students and as future professionals can bring that knowledge forward in any organization that you work with. And then we've talked about the identity access management, and the role-based encryption is when we'll talk more about that. And then that multi-factor authentication. And then the shared responsibility is that compliance, privacy, security involve both the people and technologies, which comes back to it becomes everybody's responsibility. All right, so we've covered the foundations. Again, if there's any questions, just feel free to drop them in the chat. And now we're going to look at how this relates to the Microsoft Security Tech Stack. And with that, these are the solutions, but I think it's really, really important to be very aware of what the problems are that these solutions are looking to solve. So so let's just kind of, within the Microsoft world, it's one of the largest cybersecurity providers in the world. Its tools cover identity, endpoint, cloud, threat detection, data protection. These tools are integrated, cloud-based, and assigned with global standards. And students can learn, test, and build careers with them. Or I was saying you can basically add this skill to any career. So I am a spatial data scientist. That is my passion. That is my primary role. But I found myself very involved in cybersecurity, because if I'm working with data and if I'm working with government, which are things that I have trained in, I very quickly learned I need to learn how to keep that data secure. And that's what led me into cybersecurity. And I love story and I love storytelling. And when I realized how interesting cybersecurity stories were, because there was always something that happened that is extraordinary, and you see all the opportunities for people to have done a better job. And that's why I said this is a world that has so much opportunity. And also in reading a number of stories that I'm happy to share with you, because I was looking up just things in the Nigerian world of cybersecurity, and to see that there's really a talent gap, and there's a need for cybersecurity talent. So anytime that you're investing in the self-development in security, cybersecurity, data privacy is only going to add to the demand and the value that the demand you have for employment and the value you will bring to your positions. So with that, there's just some statistics here, just how much, for example, when there's a ransomware attack, how much that can cost a company. And they were saying the average is $6.35 million for a ransomware attack on a bigger company. Or you can see that how many password attacks, it has gone up since 2001 from 579 to 1287 per second. And so these are just they're massive, massive numbers in terms of data breaches and data protection and just the work that needs to be done here. And that leads to defending. Defending is, well, actually, I'm going to take a second and go through some of the statistics that are relevant to you. And just give me a second to pull that up. So let's see. For sensitive data, NIN, BVN, passports, driver's license, PVCs, they're being sold for as little as $100 per request on unauthorized sites that are visited over 500,000 times in February 2024 and almost 200,000 times in April of 2024. So the data that they steal that's not protected gets sold. Nigeria climbed to the 11th most targeted country in Africa by January 2025, so this year. The banking sector alone faces 4,718 attacks per week. Notably, one banking Trojan, which is sort of when they slip something in, compromised 100,000 accounts, causing $3 million in losses. And these are all based on articles that we'll share, and you can have access to that. There's just tons of statistics around what is happening for you all locally. There was reported 119,000 data breaches in the first quarter of 2025, making it an sharp uptick in exposed or compromised data. And then it is, one of the articles was warning that there is a talent shortage that threatens Nigeria's cybersecurity resilience. So your country needs you. The world needs you. We all need you. We all need to be better at this because we are all defenders. But there is just huge, huge opportunities to strengthen your cybersecurity skills and then apply those in the real world. And especially if you're looking for internships, whether it's in the private sector or with government, especially in being where you are in the capital seat of your country, don't miss the opportunity to perhaps get yourself an internship in government and bringing these skills both as developers and as emerging cybersecurity professionals. I just did a one-year internship with a government agency here in the United States, and it was an amazing experience. And so if you have that opportunity, I would highly recommend, given your location and what's happening in your city and the opportunities you have available to you, when you go through some of these opportunities we'll share for these learning paths and these certifications, you will be so set up to get these opportunities. And not only that they're mentoring you, but that you're already bringing a lot of value to any organization or team that you're part of. Now, some good news on this is that Nigeria's National Cybercrime Center, which is also based in Abuja, I would highly recommend, would be something that you guys can organize yourselves, is to connect with them because they're local to you. And they were ranked third, or no, sorry, then there's another one that's third. They are best in Africa by Interpol, showing leadership amid regional threats. So that may be a great organization for you guys to connect with because Best in Africa is the National Cybercrime Center in Nigeria. And then, again, we talked about the regulatory environment. The NDPC fined MultiChoice Nigeria $766 million. Is it NIRA, or 500,000 US dollars for privacy breaches and illegal data transfers. And they were also fined $220 million or Meta was fined $220 million by also the Nigerian government. So, and then the NPC is actively participating with entities like the Nigerian Insurance Brokers Association and EFCC to strengthen data protection across sectors and enhance enforcement. So there's a lot of work happening here. but there's a lot of talent and workers and thought leaders that are needed here as well. So, okay, let me just go about this one really quick. So this is, I mentioned all of that stuff so you can see like, what are we defending against? There's just so much crime and that is happening and so many attackers who are out there. So that's why we have some of the Microsoft tools that we have, like Defender for an endpoint, protects devices from malware and threats. For Office 365, stops phishing and email-based attacks. For identity, detects identity threats in Active Directory. Defender for Cloud, secures Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud Platform workloads. And Defender for Cloud apps, monitors software as service usage and shadow IT. So then there's also the cloud native, SIEM and SOAR. And this is collects and analyzes security data across your environments, uses KQL to detect threats, automates incident response actions, and it's used by security operations centers globally. And so these are your security orchestration, automation, and response, and security information and event management systems. So these are what's used when you actually have a cybersecurity department. And a big, huge threat that is for most organizations is that they just don't have a cybersecurity team. They're not looking for threats. They're not looking for attacks. So many attacks go undetected. Even large companies in the US, we have Target, which is a huge retail store. And 3 weeks before the holidays, like right when holiday shopping started, they have cybersecurity teams and they're located globally. And there's a thing that's kind of referred to just as threat exhaustion, or just alert exhaustion. You're like, oh, I'm over it. Like there's so many things that just probably not real or probably not that important. And so this breach went undetected for 3 weeks until customers were reporting that their stolen credit card information was being used and were reporting it. And then the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, which enforces this stuff, reached out to Target and said, you have a breach. And by then, millions and millions of people's credit card data, personal information, employee data was already breached by the company. So threat detection is really, really important. And that's what these systems and this software that is part of the Microsoft Security Suite does, is able to help the professionals who this is their job to detect these breaches and do incident response. These are the tools that they can use for that purpose. And then another tool they have is Security Copilot, and this is AI for security analysts. And you, as emerging cybersecurity professionals, or like I said, even having another role and adding cybersecurity to make your skills more robust, can use Cybersecurity Copilot because it is there to bring AI to assist defenders, summarizes alerts, analyzes threats, and suggests responses, saves time and reduces alert fatigue. Currently rolling out in enterprise environments. This is somewhat new. And it's a tool that you can use because you, as cyber defenders, have to use AI because the cyber criminals are also using AI and their attacks are getting more and more sophisticated. So as they're going to use every tool at their disposal, it's best that you use every tool at your disposal. And then there's Purview, and this is where we talk about GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. And this is where you get the data protection, data security, and just knowing again what's the regulatory environment. So not only do you want to know about the Nigerian laws, which is really your foundation where you want to start, you want to learn about some of the global laws. So if you are dealing with data for any European citizen, then they're going to be protected under GDPR, and that is the rules for the European Union. And so any company that's working globally, you've got to know sort of what the international landscape is, and then country by country, there are different data protection and cybersecurity minimums that you need to enact in order to be compliant. And for the United States, doesn't really have an overarching cybersecurity law. We're kind of a patchwork of states. But if you're dealing with customers in California, then you have to abide by CCPA, which is the California Consumer Protection And that's where Purview helps you understand the rules, and then data loss prevention. Again, what is that sensitive information? Is it encrypted, not encrypted? And how's it being protected both, from internal view as well as from external attack? And so this software basically is able to prevent what they call sort of exfiltration, of taking data out that is not clear who's taking it out or why. And then, so that's called DPL, data loss prevention. E-discovery and insider risk investigates threats and legal issues, information protection, classifies labels, encrypted data, and it's ideal for anybody who's working in that GRC, privacy, and compliance role. So I'd say this question asks, are there special skill sets required to be either on red or blue teams, or can any given cybersecurity expert do any team at all? That's a great question. I love that question. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in opportunities, because we're going to talk about learning paths and certifications. And within the learning paths and certifications, we'll get a lot into what skills do you want to be developing. And to be totally transparent about this, there are skills that are non-technical. You just really need to know the language, the terms, what communities are out there, what different rules and regulations are, and be really aware of the landscape, the news, the stories, the statistics of what's happening in the whole cybersecurity data privacy landscape. And then there are very technical roles as well. You should kind of know the things I was just saying, as well as being able to use different cybersecurity tools. And there are definitely learning paths, and we'll go through them, that will take you through pen testing, which is kind of red teaming. And there are other tools which are more kind of on the blue teaming side, which is more understanding that SOC, which is the Security Operations Center, and the SIEM and the SOAR. Those are the tools you're going to use on the blue teaming side. So there's definitely, we'll get more into that, but it's a great question. And then there's identity management, and this is really important to make sure that you're inside of the house of the company, all the employees are only the people who should be seeing certain information have access to that information. And that's where Microsoft Entra and Microsoft Entra ID have an important role. So for example, say that you have somebody that you're planning on terminating from the company, and they're mad about it, and now still have access to their email, and they have access to all their systems, so they can be an insider threat. They can just kind of get mad and say, I'm going to just do something really bad because I can. That's where role-based and identity management come in, because to cut off someone's email, cut off someone's access at the point that they're terminated is really important. Or let's say someone moves departments. They were in accounting and now they're in operations. They should no longer have access to that former financial data that they were given access to before, when their role was in accounting. Or the roles could be by junior or mid-level or senior, in terms of how much access someone is also going to have to a system. And that's the difference, again, between that role-based versus the identity. So identity is you are you, and role-based is what is your role within the company, and how much access should any person with that role have to certain data within a company. And this is where you can get what they call row-based security. So if you're in a database, you can actually decide, if you have a whole lot of data that's coming in from sales and other data that the company is gathering, customer information, that only certain people can even see row level data. So that, for example, let's say you're collecting someone's credit card, or in the US, it's a social security number. You can make it so that certain people in the organization cannot see that information. It can be encrypted and they don't have access to it, or it can be removed from their view. And so the Microsoft Entra, that kind of unifies that identity access and trust management. Entra ID centralizes the identity and access for users, devices, and apps. Permissions management, visibility and control over permissions across cloud environments. That's what we're talking about. Like, it can be very, very detailed and very specific, but that's where the configurations really matter, and having those skills to know how to do that, set that up, has enormous value. and verified ID, issue and verify decentralized credentials securely. And this is all central to Zero Trust, which we were saying is a framework that basically says, unless someone proves otherwise, we don't trust them. And that leads us to secure coding and DevOps with Microsoft tools. So you've got encryption, the Azure Key Vault securely stores secrets and encryption keys. GitHub Advanced Security scans codes for vulnerabilities. Defender for DevOps monitors your CI/CD pipeline. And I will say, even as kind of coming up as a baby developer, because when I went back to grad school, I didn't have a background in computer science. I've always been very technical and I've always built things with tech, but I wasn't a computer science person. And then when I did my master's in human security and geospatial intelligence with a GIS certificate, that's when I began coding. And I had to learn about .env and .gitignore because I did not know that when I used an API or a secret code, how to hide it. And I was like, yeah, how do you do that? Because all my code is being hosted on GitHub. And then to understand, it's like, no, you put it in a secret file, label that .env, and tell the code how to find it, and then put gitignore, and it's not added to your repo. And that was just a small but important step for me in learning how to build security into my coding. And so that is something that Microsoft has, again, a whole suite of tools to make sure that you are coding securely. But just learning best practices as a developer will take you so far. And then Microsoft encryption. Again, this is where you have data and you don't want everybody to be able to see that data. It's only meant for the point of origin and the point of receipt. And when that data is just resting, like nobody has access to it, again, it could be vulnerable to a hack. That's when it can be encrypted at rest. And then the encryption in transit, another kind of cybersecurity term is called monkey in the middle, or man in the middle. Certainly it's man in the middle, but that idea that you have somebody kind of throwing a wrench into the system and you think you're getting it to the person that you're trying to get it to, and they're grabbing it in transit. And that's another reason why it's important if you encrypt that data. So now it's kind of in code that nobody can understand unless they have a key to unlock it. And that's the importance of encryption, especially with private health information, personally identifying information. Encryption is incredibly important. So knowing that the data within these systems is encrypted. So that's the process of converting data into a secure format to prevent unauthorized access. Encryption in transit protects data between users, services, and data centers. End-to-end encryption secures communication between users. Encryption at rest uses AES 256-bit encryption and transparent data encryption. And the Azure Key Vault manages keys and supports customer-controlled encryption. So again, these are the Microsoft tools that help with that data protection. And that brings us to our third and final section here of pathways, community, and opportunities. And this is designed for you to grow in your knowledge and success and opportunities. So our Microsoft Learn community has so many learning paths and modules and certifications to demonstrate your knowledge. And you have access to jump right into these modules. So they can be there's small modules, and then they collect and then sort of create learning paths. So for example, if you're just interested in starting with encryption, there's both modules, and then they expand to sort of larger learning paths on encryption. I had done 2 certificates. One was the Google Digital Cloud Leader, and I did the ISC Squared Certified in Cybersecurity. And what I found is that the cloud exam, 30% or a third of that was security. And when I did the security exam, a third of it was cloud. So whether you're being a developer and leaning into cloud and leaning into AI, and leaning into security, they're all kind of together. So you can't be a developer without bumping into security or bumping into cloud, and you shouldn't be working in cloud unless you understand security. So your skills, again, are going to be super valuable, and you'll find that a lot of these exams will kind of have you cross-train on these. And I found that I had a voucher that was about to expire, and I had a very limited window. I had basically a day to sign up for it. And so I signed up for the SC100, which kind of was the only one available within my interest and the time frame. And I did not pass it. But what I found is I was so close to passing it. What I was missing, which is one of the reasons I'm so honored to be here today, was the Microsoft tech stack and really knowing it deeply. But everything else about cybersecurity and all the concepts that we're talking about here that were covered in the exam, got all of that right. So that was my lesson and actually just, that was kind of a couple months ago that I was like, okay, now I need to really drill down into the Microsoft cybersecurity tech stack, which is why we're here today, because that's helping me. So in another month, I'll take that exam, and I'm very confident that I will pass it and I'll have my SC100. But with any of these, 900 is actually the beginner, and then 100 is the most advanced. So you can kind of start or end anywhere kind of in that process. Actually, even if I took the SC100 and passed it, they would still require me to take 2 other exams to officially be like have that highest level cybersecurity credential. So it's not a standalone test. There's actually even more to it than that. And they're, whether you pass or fail a test, because it's not university, like we like to do well in our classes and our assignments and our exams at university. When it comes to these, obviously there's a cost, and there's many vouchers that are available to minimize that cost. But sometimes I would almost say take an exam, even if you may not pass it, because it's like a practice exam. And at least now you know what's on it and you know what to prepare. So don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of any of these. If you have an opportunity to take an exam, even if you're doing what I did and walking cold, just take it. You'll learn from the process. And again, but the better part is to be a bit more prepared, and that's where all of these learning modules come in handy. And then there's an Azure for students. You can get free credits and tools. There's the GitHub Student Pack, which has all of these DevSecOps tools, your cloud IDEs, which are integrated development environments, and just lots of free services. And and myself and moderator host here is a fellow Microsoft student ambassador, and they mentor us and give us additional resources. So if you're not part of that program, we do encourage you to take a closer look at the Microsoft program as well. But whether you're part of it or not, all these resources are available to you as students. And just want to sort of say, you should ideally pick a path that you want to, or a certification that you want to work towards, and then go through the learning paths towards it. Or you can just kind of follow your interests and see what interests you and see where you gravitate towards, and then let that inform what exam you might want to take next. And then AI is essential, and the future and present of cybersecurity is AI, both for the defenders and the attackers. And the fact that AI itself is not without risk, and there are a lot of ways for the non-ethical hackers, i.e. the cyber criminals, to corrupt machine learning models and AI. And so there's a lot of risk in AI, and a lot of it sort of increases the threat landscape, or the threat, I'll say the vector, the amount of attack surface that a criminal has, is that AI now becomes a new vulnerability. So the AI-powered detection tools spot anomalies, suspicious patterns, and zero-day threats faster than ever. A zero-day threat is a threat that's never been seen before. So it's 0 days. Nobody's seen it before. It's the first time it's being reported, and now everybody has to figure out, how do we deal with this? That's why the MITRE attack directory is so important for people, because if they think that they're just seeing it for the first time, hey, maybe someone else has seen this, maybe someone else has solved it, or given us more information on detection. So maybe I think it's only attacked one thing, or maybe it's attacked other things, and I don't know that yet. And so that's where the MITRE attack directory is so important, because people can take things they've never seen before and start logging them for other people. The security copilot and similar tools help defenders summarize alerts, automate triage, and respond in real time. AI-driven threat actors use generative tools for phishing, deepfakes, and social engineering at scale. So again, bad guys, cyber criminals are using this, probably even faster than defenders are using this. So we have to embrace AI. And then the new threat vectors include large language model poisoning, model extraction, and prompt injection attacks. Both attackers and defender teams now need to learn and adapt faster. They can with AI tools, but they also kind of need to for training, simulation, automation. I use AI all the time when I'm studying. Actually, I remember just waiting to sit my exam for my certified in cybersecurity, and I remember I had some time, and I was just with my ChatGPT, just asking questions to prepare me for the exam. So you can use your AI to help you study, to help you learn, to ask lots of questions. And this kind of the ability to stay ahead requires continuous learning, real-world tools, and a mindset of innovation and defense. And with that, please drop in your last questions so I can take them, and this will be kind of our wrap-up. So you don't need to be planning on being a cybersecurity professional, but rather it helps with anything you do to bring a security mindset. That said, if you want to be a cybersecurity professional, do look at the NICE, which is the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education. They have a framework which outlines all the cybersecurity jobs. Now, as your economy is developing, you may find that they don't advertise the job as a data or cybersecurity professional, but that once you get into the job, you may see that they have things that are missing, things that are lacking, things that they can do better because you have this education and you have this community, that you aren't just depending on them to say, hey, we need someone to do this job. You could show up in an organization or a team, and it becomes pretty obvious to you pretty quickly how much they need it, and that you can bring this value in anything else that you were hired to, along with anything else you were hired to do there. So again, I love being part of the Microsoft Student Ambassador Program, which was formerly Microsoft Learn, but now they've changed it to Microsoft Student Ambassadors. I am part of a monthly call that I moderate called Cyber Connect, and it's on GeoCyber Systems on YouTube. And we bring in cyber professionals, and we do a 6-hour live stream once a month on a Saturday, and bring your questions, and they answer them live. And it's all about how to grow in your cybersecurity career and interest. I'm also a NICE cybersecurity career ambassador, which is, again, part of that national initiatives or cybersecurity education. And I love sharing cybersecurity pathways and career and opportunities, and invite you to build a portfolio, join events, and grow your network. So back to that question about how does someone become a red teamer or a blue teamer? You build your skills through a thing called Capture the Flag. It's just a thing within the cybersecurity community, the games we all play that are designed to help you use different cybersecurity tools, get you to play, get you to just every time I do a different Capture the Flag, I learn new things and my skills get better. I also learn the type of things that I'm better at. Like, I'm very good at open source intelligence. I'm very good at forensics. I'm not quite as good at malware. And that's not to say I can't get better, but sometimes you don't need to be everything. You can just find a few lanes that you do really well. I'm also a GRC person, so I'm on that governance, risk, and compliance side, but I also love to code. And again, you'll find your place. You'll find sort of where your skills are naturally already there, and then things that you want to develop. And then October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So it's a great opportunity for you to organize an event, write a blog, share a video, anything you want to do to amplify and share that cybersecurity is for everyone. We are all defenders. And a lot of the gap and so a lot of the articles I was reading about Nigeria in particular is there's just not a lot of public education about how people need to be protecting themselves and securing their systems. And so there's a huge opportunity for that within your own community. And then network and collaborate with others who share an interest in cybersecurity. One of the lessons is you don't look for an opportunity to be in cybersecurity, you just kind of get into it. And that's why joining the nice community of interest or just creating your own discussions and communities, playing capture flags together is a great way to be in the industry and then let the opportunities find you. So with that, I bring it to a close, and I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I hope you found great value in this as you begin your cybersecurity roles, careers, ambassadorships, advocacy. What you're doing is so important, and you know everybody needs you to grow and thrive and embrace the challenge that is ahead, and we're all needed in this space. So I thank you. Please feel free to connect with me, reach out to me, find me on YouTube at this GeoCyber Systems. That's where we do our monthly Cyber Connect. I also do articles on Substack, and just always happy to answer any questions and love building cybersecurity career student communities. Oh, can I start my career path without having access to a laptop? The answer is yes. And I'm going to say, I'm hoping you have if you have access to a phone, you can do a little bit of what I did, which is just start by asking the internets about cybersecurity breaches and cybersecurity laws in Nigeria. Like, be very specific to your capital city, be very specific to your country, and start being very well versed in what's happening. What are the problems? What are the breaches? Talk to people, organize things, have discussions. So whatever you can do that encourages people to have this conversation without a computer, you should be able to do, because a lot of this is leadership. And if you bring curiosity and research and leadership and communication, you've already begun. And okay, so that was happiness. Precious asks, do I know which encryption method is best for small application I'm building? It really depends on what you're building it. And this is back to, I sometimes say, ask the internets or ask a chat GPT. I believe we all kind of have access to various versions of this. I know within the US, there's like AI mode when you Google something or use Microsoft Edge to search. So I don't know that answer, but I think that's one of the things that you'll all get really good at, is knowing where to find an answer. And but absolutely, you should be thinking about data protection, encryption. And if you're building an application, think about what's the least amount of data you can ask for from a user or a customer. You don't need everything, because once you have everything, you have to protect everything. So understanding what the concept is called data minimization, when you're collecting data from a user, so that you're protecting that data, so that there's less that you're concerned about encrypting. Because, yeah, and if you're thinking encrypting, you're obviously thinking, I might have some things that should be confidential, and I need to be, so you're absolutely bringing that security mindset to your DevOps, which is fantastic. All right, I think it's time that I turn it over back to our moderator. Thank you so much for organizing and all the hard work in putting this together and everybody's attention. I just am so honored and grateful to be here.
Thank you very much, Philippa. I think the students had an amazing time. The students obviously have a lot of questions. We'll also collect that. We'll send them over to you if you have time to review them. We also thank the entire students for showing up. We did well. Philippa here is a big teen in cybersecurity. I see some of your questions aligns with her, and then she will also, if she has time, she'll also show another time. We run the largest program in the University of Abuja, as you already know, the Microsoft student program. Over 1,000 students in the program. And then we need people like Philippa, because majority of you, you deal with cybersecurity and courses like that. Philippa, I think if you have time, you will also host again, right?
Absolutely. I would be honored to come back. And I actually am just going to put this idea out there that perhaps we could even do something with the National Cybercrime Center in Abuja, because they are Africa's leading, uh, or they've been named the best for leadership among regional threats. And so maybe even finding ways that we can collaborate with some of your local leadership, and so that you can even get, more access to the government, because you're obviously in the capital, you're in the seat of government, and the people who are leading it right now, because you are the future leaders. They need you. Some of them don't even know they need you until you show up and you go, oh yeah, I'm needed. But the people who are leading this right now, there's some journalists that I came across that are writing these articles and talking about what they see as the needs for Nigeria, that maybe we can collaborate and invite some of them to be part of these conversations and your future opportunities as well.
Thank you very much. They will absolutely love it. I will drop updates regarding you and your opportunities to them. We'll also talk, we'll deliberate. Some of them here, they need a lot of opportunities, especially the SciSec enthusiasts within them. Thank you very much, and then looking forward to the opportunities with you.
Thank you again. See you all next time. Take care.